Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Film Pundits. Today we are going to be reviewing Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. I'm joined here as always with Mr. Hector Navarro.
Hey, what's up? It's me.
And we have a new guest in our realm, Eric Bratlian.
Oh, that's me.
That's you.
That is
the
me.
Crossbow.
Oh, that's what they call me sometimes.
How you doing?
Why do they call you
Great.
Crossbow?
Because the first team I was put on at work,
Yeah.
there were too many Erics, and it was I
Isn't that great?
had to get a nickname.
Isn't that great? That's awesome.
And so it was down to either Crossbow or some girl's name, so I definitely went with Crossbow. You know.
Good choice.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah,
Well, thanks for being on the show, man. This
Yeah,
is awesome.
thank you for
This is
having
cool.
me.
You guys both saw this movie today.
we did.
I saw it Friday night. This is Sunday right now is when we're talking.
Yes.
But this is Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
The sequel,
Directed by
Matt Reeves.
Matt Reeves. The sequel to 2011's Rise of the Planet of the Apes, which both of these movies themselves are kind of a prequel series or reboot series. I don't think it's a remake of any of the original Planet of the Apes movies.
It's definitely a rebooted series.
It's a rebooted series. And what's interesting is I think they both kind of work a bit as a prequel because by now everybody knows the classic twist in the original Planet of the Apes movie is that it was our planet all along.
Mm-hmm.
We've either seen the movie from 1968 or we've seen that great Simpsons bit when actor Troy McClure was it doesn't matter. But anyway, because of that twist, all of the movies since then have been about they've either been tackling social issues that the first one kind of originally touched on, or this new series we're kind of getting to the point where how would we get to a point where there is a Planet of the Apes? Because we all love that great sci-fi story that's the cool, there's apes riding on horses and there's people and they can't talk
Apes
and
on
then
horses.
Yeah.
apes on horses. How would we get to a point in our society where the world would be so messed up and turned around that if astronauts came and landed, they would think it's another planet? Like that's the whole point of these new movies is to try to explain how would apes get super intelligent, how would the human race become decimated. So it's cool that they're doing that, but they're still tackling social issues and they still have a commentary and they're still trying to say something on top of just being entertainment, which I think the Tim Burton reboot from 2001, which is a remake, not a they just tried to straight remake the first movie. It didn't really have anything to say. It was just like a pretty remake.
Right.
And that's what Tim Burton did with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And that's kind of Tim Burton's thing. Like he makes a pretty looking movie that kind of doesn't say stuff. So let's get into it. I very much enjoyed Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Did you?
That's
What's your initial thought?
That's my initial thing at the top of the thing. Super enjoyed it. Really dug it. And I rewatched Rise of the Planet of the Apes recently, and it was a better movie than even I remember. So like I'm digging them both right now. I think that they're great.
Yeah.
Adam, what did you think?
I loved it.
That's awesome.
I really loved it.
That's
I
awesome.
thought it had a lot of character, a lot of heart, a lot of emotion. I almost cried during this movie. And I don't usually cry at movies, no matter how sad they are. Literally, there are moments in this movie where you just can't help but want to just feel terrible for the apes and for the humans and how everyone's being treated.
Yeah.
A lot
That's
of
awesome.
emotion.
Eric, what did you think, buddy? I can't wait for this.
Man,
He hasn't given us anything on how he
You
feels.
have no idea how I felt.
He has been withholding his opinion. I'm going to wait till we do the show. I'm going to wait till we do it.
Yeah.
This is awesome. I can't wait to get into
I'm
it.
excited about this.
All right. How'd you feel about it?
I absolutely thought it was not that great.
All right.
That
was an emotional roller coaster you just put us on right there
I
with that
know.
sentence.
I really
All right.
want you guys to thought. I was annoyed by a lot of it and bored by.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep,
Let's get into it. Let's talk about it. What were
man.
First of all, what were you annoyed by? What was something that bothered you about the movie?
When we first even just saw the people, I didn't care at all about any of the people.
Really?
None of them. I thought Gary Oldman was totally wasted on a character that he did nothing.
Yeah.
They tried to make us care about him and his storyline when he looked at his iPad for 30 seconds, and I'm like, are you kidding me? That was the stupidest scene. I thought that was so cheesy.
They
and it was
tried to give the main guy and Keri Russell, who was like his new wife or new girlfriend, try to give them a little bit of backstory here and there with like the guy that had the son.
Yeah.
Didn't care about them. How'd you feel about that?
Exactly.
It just wasn't enough for you. It wasn't enough.
They didn't fill out any of them enough for me to care. And the fact that they opened with the apes made me care about the apes more the entire movie.
That I completely agree with. I definitely was more into the apes than the humans.
Think, you guys, I
don't
think
know if that
they
was on purpose or
I think they absolutely did that on purpose.
Yeah,
I think and that's a gamble. That was a gamble because that wasn't the case with the first movie with James Franco.
Right.
You opened with the people and then studying the apes and then, you know what I mean? Like you got to kind of know his story and the fact that he was trying to cure Alzheimer's because his father, John Lithgow, right? You guys remember? Like,
Mm-hmm.
so it was definitely a gamble to open with the Apes Society in this movie, and for you to learn about Caesar, and he has a son, and he's like having trouble with his son, and it was all in sign. You guys, that was crazy.
That was really awesome.
Right? It was awesome.
Really cool.
Yeah.
And it's like you don't hear an ape speak until some of the humans show up to the camp, and then I think Caesar's the one that says "Go!"
Yeah.
And it's I think they did that because it's impactful.
Right.
It's the first time that the humans hear the apes speak, and they wanted the audience also to hear them speak for the first time then.
Right.
And I think it also reminded. Well, I mean, they were going to talk, but like maybe people forgot that they spoke by the end at the end of the first one, right? Caesar was speaking and stuff. So you're totally right. It was a gamble. I think they did it on purpose. I think that when they went into this movie, they were like, the apes are the characters.
Right. Well, the movie's called Dawn of the Planet of
Sure,
the Apes.
sure, but
it was called Return of the Humans, and you'd be like, okay.
Sure, but it could have been about, like I said, it could have been about the humans. It could have been about in a lot of ways, especially for that first original Planet of the Apes movie, Charlton Heston is clearly the hero, but not that many of the apes are sympathetic characters. A few of them are, but most of the apes are kind of villainous.
Right.
And they're like the bad guys. They're the antagonists. They're the ones that run this messed up society. And Charlton Heston's the one that's like, it's a madhouse.
Yeah.
So it was so interesting to kind of to have them flip it. Now, could they have put more character development into some of the humans?
Definitely.
Probably. Would it have taken away from some of the apes? I don't know. That's an interesting thing to talk about. Again, I don't know how much they wanted you to care about Gary Oldman. Is he the villain? Not necessarily.
Yeah.
They put in that scene to be like, he's not all the way the villain.
Right.
In the same way that Koba, the second in command, definitely has villainous things that he does.
Right.
But you kind of feel for you know where he's coming from. You know where he's coming from.
Yeah.
My favorite part in the whole movie is when he's talking to Caesar, and Caesar says, "Let the humans finish their work," and he just goes, "Human work, human work."
Yeah,
He
and
points
showing
to
all the
himself, and you're like,
scars.
"Look, he's the guy that's going to start some shit."
Yeah.
Like Gary Oldman is the guy that's going to. But they both
But it's justified.
have something.
Yeah.
They didn't go that much into Koba other than him saying, "I was abused by humans," and Caesar was like, "He doesn't know humans' compassion."
Yeah.
They didn't go that much into Gary. But oh man, there's just so much to talk about. But okay, that's fair. That's fair.
That, like, if they wanted us to care more about the apes, then why even bother giving us any backstory on the characters? Like,
Right, you're right.
The little bit they gave us made us think, oh, they're gonna like make us care about them, but they gave us so little that I just didn't care at all, and I would have rather had them give more time to the apes, which I
There you
actually
go.
Do you
care more
think
about.
that it would have been to their benefit to bring characters like James Franco back, or do you think it would have hindered the story?
How long has it been since the last one? That's
10
the
years.
question.
10 years.
They said 10 years.
Yeah,
Okay,
10
so he
winters,
could
they
have been
said,
there.
yeah.
Good, okay.
Well, here's the other
it's-
thing too is
yeah.
that James Franco. I don't know if they said this in the movie, but I read up on it. James Franco's character, his girlfriend, wife at the end of the first movie, basically every human in that first movie is wiped out because of the disease that they show at the beginning of this movie. And they were saying that statistically, what was it, like 1 in a couple hundred are like genetically immune to it.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think if they would have brought back James Franco, it would have been a little convenient. We would have been like, really? And I like that they mentioned him when Caesar goes back to his childhood home and he's
Right.
looking at the video.
Yeah.
I feel like to have James Franco show up, it would have been a little bit too much. Like,
Yeah, we had just enough James Franco.
Yeah,
The
it-
cameo from the video camera was
Yeah.
was good, and it was like believable.
Yeah.
Like I think we're all in agreement. If they brought him back, it would have made it a movie about talking apes a little
Right.
unbelievable, guys.
Right.
It's like really, yeah. Okay, all right. What was something that you were bored by, Eric? You were talking about that earlier.
Near the end, it just started. It was just going, and I was like, okay, when is this gonna end? Like, I just started getting to that point because,
Like you kind of know how it's going to play out a
yeah,
little
and
bit.
I just
Sure.
and everything kept happening, and things kept happening that were annoying me. Like even during the big battle, and it's like, okay, how many bullets are in these guns that these monkeys have? How do they know how to reload a gun?
Yeah.
They know how to shoot a gun. How are you gonna put
Those
a
are
new
those
clip
were
in a gun?
magic Hollywood guns that never stop
Exactly.
firing.
And
yeah.
it's like
Getting real
Same
nitpicky,
thing-
buddy.
It just,
But it's true though. Same thing
it
with the
got to me a
humans.
little.
Same thing with the humans. Like
Sure.
Gary Oldman is just like unloading rounds.
and nobody can hit anything.
Yeah, nobody can hit anything,
Yeah.
and it's just like infinite amount of rounds. Like I think would have built more tension if you would have shown the apes and the humans trying to reload the guns. Like, trying to
I
know
think
how they work.
didn't they have one moment where an ape had a gun, and he got shot, and then Caesar's son, Blue Eyes, was like hiding and freaking out of the war.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
hiding behind a car, and he
Yeah,
like
yeah.
went and picked up the gun
Right.
and had to keep using it. So, that's not necessarily a reload, but it's definitely
grabbed
like
another
he
one.
grabbed and maybe
Right.
he, right
I thought
like
about
maybe,
that too.
right
Yeah.
like
They
you
had
know.
so many of them, maybe they just kept getting new ones.
Sure.
but
Yeah, 'cause you
they
see
never
them
show
grab
that
you.
But you
cast.
gotta admit, bro, Koba riding on a horse firing 2
Oh,
machine
that was
guns
awesome.
was
It was
badass.
cool.
It was
Yeah.
definitely cool.
It was cool. I'm not. There were definitely really cool things that happened in this.
Sure.
The CG was awesome. The opening
It's
and
really
the
good.
closing shots of the close-ups on the faces.
Yeah,
were
man.
brilliant. There was only
Yeah.
like a handful of shots where I was like, "Ew, that's a little
Sure.
iffy." And there was just, and sometimes I was even distracted by like the shot itself and thinking of what the work that went into like making the
Yeah,
shot.
you can't help but think that
When they
because
rode
it's
on
kind of
horses behind
amazing.
a chain link fence. I'm like, whoever
Yeah.
rotoed that chain link fence
Yeah.
probably hated their life for like 3 weeks to roto that thing. Like, this is
It's
insane.
true. It's impossible not to think about how much
Yeah.
work went into it and where the motion capture and the CG ended and began because
Yeah.
it was pretty seamless.
I mean,
it was,
the opening shot and the closing shot on Caesar's face.
it's really
looked
good.
so ridiculously
It
real.
looked
It was really good.
fantastic, Yeah.
I will agree with you though. There was a certain point towards the end of the movie where when Caesar came back, and it's like he's gonna go confront Koba.
Yeah.
He's gonna go like certain thing how they're gonna sort of play out. But having said that, there was still tension when the human guy showed up at the bottom of the building and pulled a gun on his fellow humans. It was like, don't blow this building up. There's a little bit of tension there, and Caesar made his way and stuff.
That bugged me too.
What?
That part where he pulled out the gun. Probably because I know what happens. I'm like, they're gonna take over the whole world, kill them all right now.
Yeah.
Like it's like it's the fact that I know what's gonna happen in the future
Right.
that makes me think, okay, maybe just let these guys blow up the building. But then
Right.
I'm also like, where does this come from? He's pulling a gun on these people. It's like, really, you care that much about these monkeys? Sure, you have this.
Here's the
trust
thing,
between
it's-
you, but really that much.
You're right. It's so interesting because I feel like the main human's character, I'm blanking on his name. I forgot Malcolm.
Yeah.
Malcolm and Caesar are basically one and the same.
Right.
They show us that they're family men. They show us that they're, and I don't think that they necessarily care about the other enough to do what they did. I just think that they wanted to avoid war, which is
Yeah.
really interesting to have their main protagonist, leader of the apes, want to avoid war so much. And so that's one of the things I want to talk about is that there's so much stuff to unpack in this movie. And I think that each of these old classic Planet of the Apes movies, of which there are 5 in the 60s and 70s, they each sort of tackled a different social issue. And I think that this one is clearly about gun control, which is really, really interesting. It's so interesting. It's there, but it isn't. Like any sort of good science fiction, I think that's what the message is about. The scene where Koba rolls up and is playing, and it's so
that
terrifying.
scene.
I love it, but it's so tense, and it's so like, oh my God. And Koba just wanted to get those guns because he wanted to protect and he wanted to defend and he wanted to take out the humans. And Gary Oldman just wanted to, they kept building up the guns. Even though Malcolm was successful, they were like, it's a backup plan.
Yeah.
And you can't fault him for that. You're like, oh, and it's just this great cry for like, we need to figure out what we're doing about gun control in this country with all of the news stories in the past couple of months and our history in the past 20, 30 years. Like, it's just relentless. And I think that it was really, really cool that they found a way to talk about this without talking about it. So that was one of the things that I was super excited about going into this movie. Because I did read before going to see the movie a non-spoiler review, but they're like, but the movie's about gun control. And I was all of a sudden like, ooh, that's very interesting to me because we have such a response when we see this stuff in the news, and I care about this issue, but I feel real powerless about, like, you know what I mean? It's just because it's so visceral and it's such an emotional thing.
Yeah.
And because I am familiar with the old Planet of the Apes movies, I got real excited that it's like, cool, they're tackling a social something, which is going to be real exciting. So I really dug that. What else? What else you want to talk about?
Well, there was something even about the guns and it's something that annoys me about if I see this in a movie, TV show, anything.
Yeah.
When things happen because people aren't communicating. Like, if
Absolutely.
the humans went in there and just told Caesar straight up, look, we're here,
I know,
but
man.
they're back there. They're going to come and fucking try and... Oh, sorry. They're going to come and try
Yeah,
to kill you all
absolutely.
if something happens.
Now,
we have all these things.
That's
Just
what I
tell them
love.
that
I
straight
love
up.
feeling that frustration because it's like you're saying, like, we know how the world is going to play out.
Yeah.
These are prequels, and we know that there will eventually be a Planet of the Apes. This was the dawn of this sci-fi world.
Yeah.
The end of the movie ended at dawn, and Caesar's standing there, and apparently military is going to show up, and you're just like, you feel sad. That's what I love. But that tension, sometimes it's frustrating.
Yeah.
If it's something that I maybe don't really care about. Sometimes it's frustrating in the best way. I remember watching all of Lost and feeling so frustrated at times, but I'm like, because just communicate with one another.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's like you understand why they don't. I was thinking about about that.
It drives the.
I was.
It's like
it's
they
true.
count on the lack of communication to drive the plot, though, which is annoying. If it was
true
something-
in a way, absolutely. There's
yeah.
true.
And it's like, oh, this jerk who brings his shotgun with him. Oh, okay. Like really,
that
oh my
character,
God.
that character
Yeah.
really annoyed me. I felt like he was in there to just be like the tension of the movie. I
He
was
was.
like,
That's
And they
that's
said,
true. That's
we
true.
need him to work on the bridge. They repaired the whole bridge without him.
without
That's
him.
true. They at one point
What was
they're like,
so-
go wait
He
in the
was
car,
then
dude.
they left
Go
him
wait in the
for
car.
like 2 days. I'm like,
no,
come on.
you take him back. That was so stupid.
It was
Yeah.
really
That guy
interesting.
was so pointless.
And I would have loved to have seen, honestly, just a bit more with him because he knew he was the asshole.
Right.
He's like, great, I'm the asshole.
Yeah.
It's like, look, we know
And
you
when he
went through
dies,
some
they don't
stuff.
even know he dies.
Yeah,
That's
He's
true.
never found. You're like,
That's
oh,
true.
All right.
Yeah.
It's-
that.
Here's the thing, though. That what I love is that I was thinking about that while watching the movie,
Uh-huh.
and I was like, what if Malcolm and his team of humans, when they showed up back to the camp after
Yeah.
Caesar said, never come back,
Yeah.
what if when they showed up, what if he told Caesar, he pulled him aside, like, look, listen, we're here. We're asking you to please let us do this thing to help us survive.
Yeah.
I should let you know
Mhm.
they have guns.
Exactly.
And
Just
and
told
I
him.
and I told them to trust me and give me a chance and give me a couple days. And if I don't succeed, I don't want anything to happen. I'm going to do everything I can to prevent like this little moment.
Exactly.
But then I started
So
thinking. But then
easy
I
to
started.
say.
It is. But then I started thinking, dude. I was like, dude, what if he said that?
Yeah.
What do you think Caesar would be like? Cool, cool, bro. No, I think Caesar would have been pissed.
Really?
Like I think that when their lack of communication kind of delayed the inevitable.
Oh,
And
okay.
again, I felt like they both had equal like. Both of the positions they were both put in, Malcolm and Caesar,
They were
the
tough
leaders. They were
positions.
tough positions.
Yeah.
Like I'm just thinking about the
Well,
politics as
especially
this
because
is happening.
Caesar's the leader of the apes, but Malcolm's not the leader of the humans.
Right, but
Yeah.
I mean,
So it's a little harder
But
for
he
him.
became
He's
the
a
liaison.
representative, really.
Absolutely, he's a absolute. So Caesar has a lot of pressure. I mean, that first scene when they first encountered the humans and Koba's son got shot at.
Yeah.
Right, his ape son. Do you remember at the beginning of the
That
movie?
was Koba's son?
That was Koba's son.
Oh, okay,
And
okay.
which is again another
remember
reason.
whose son it
It was
was,
another
but-
reason why Koba was super pissed about everything.
Yeah.
But then it was like even crazier when later Koba killed his own. Like that moment was nuts, dude. It was
Threw
crazy.
the other one off of the.
Oh
Yeah.
my god, that was his own son. That was his own
Yep.
kid. But back to the thing where like that first night where the apes have their little tribunal and they're talking, somebody convinced Caesar like we need to be strong, and it was an interesting thing where Caesar was like we will be strong,
Right.
and he. Instead of leaving it alone, like he got everybody on a horse the next day and rode out to the, which is
Yeah.
super ballsy.
I liked that.
Super
I did like
ballsy.
that.
It got to me. It got the story going immediately, and it was that really ballsy move, but compassionately throwing the backpack back and being
Right.
like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It was this really ballsy, smart, like leader move. It was a really smart move for a leader to do.
Oh, yeah.
But I started thinking like, if Malcolm had said that, if there were more communication with all parties involved, I feel like it just would have accelerated things more, like sooner. Honestly,
Yeah.
because there was hate and there was distrust to begin with on both sides.
Right.
You know, so it's
But
just
what
like
you just said about Caesar understanding like tactics and being a leader,
Yeah.
I feel like he would understand the tactics of them as well. Be like, look,
Sure.
we would do the same exact thing. We understand like
A backup
I
plan.
would
A backup
appreciate
plan. Yeah.
knowing that. Like it just
Yeah.
seems like something that he would. Be
I
able to
know, man.
understand.
It's
And I
so-
also thought, okay, when they first showed up on the horses,
Yeah.
I kind of understand why they didn't do this, but why not just mention right then? Look, there's this dam up there. We want to try to get power. That's why we were going up.
Yeah,
there.
right there.
Right
Yeah.
then, right when they
Yep.
came, instead of risking your life to go back to talk to them when he told you not to,
Right.
why not just say it right then? Who cares?
I think also it's
Like,
it's because there's a lot of those people just don't trust the apes. Period. So they don't want them to know what they're doing because maybe they'll try to go to the dam and
Could
destroy
be.
everything
It could
that
be.
they're trying to fix.
It would have been
I
interesting.
guess.
It
So
would have
it's
been
hard.
interesting to
It's
have
hard to
a
say.
scene where, for example, when Malcolm's getting his backpack together and his wife is there and his kid is there and the kid's like, "I'm going." It would have been interesting to have the wife be like, "Why didn't you say anything
Yeah.
to the apes about the?" And he would have been like,
Right.
"Because we don't we don't
don't
trust
trust
them."
them,
Little
yeah.
little things like that, I'm sure would have helped.
you
In
saw
any
that moment
case,
of compassion when he gives the bag back.
Sure.
I mean, I don't know.
it's there's a
tough to
lot
say.
of there's a lot of it's I disagree with you though, Eric, in saying that like sometimes I see movies and it's clearly stuff happening just to further the plot,
Yeah.
just to get to the end where we sort of know where it's ending,
Yeah.
where we see things coming or whatever. I felt like they did a good job of knowing where we have to end.
Yeah.
They still did a good job of having events taking place through miscommunication, through whatever. You know, the sort of ramping up that it still felt really natural to me, and so like I got sort of swept up in it. It did feel like this is how this shit would be playing out. That's what it felt like to me.
Okay.
But it felt very character driven, which is cool. Koba was making moves.
Let's
Yeah.
talk about the
You know
acting.
what I mean? The acting. Let's talk about it.
Characters. How do you feel? How did you feel about Caesar?
I mean, yeah, the acting was impressive.
It was impressive.
It was good.
I think they did a really good job of translating what Andy Serkis did in the performance through like the visual representation,
Absolutely.
the CG representation.
Little nuances, totally. Not just Andy Serkis, but the guy who played Koba.
Yeah.
All of the like lip curls and stuff
Right.
that he was
Yeah.
doing. The actress who played Maurice,
Right.
who was a female actress. All of those little tiny things here,
Yeah.
and also the actor who played Blue Eyes,
Right, the
Caesar's
son.
son. There was a
Yeah.
lot of emotion in there. I can't really think, not too much else, but other stuff here and there.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think for me, I was more impressed with the ape acting than the human acting.
Yeah,
Oh, definitely.
kind of true.
Yeah.
Listen, the main guy, the guy who played Malcolm, not the
Clarke,
most
yeah.
Jason Clarke, not the most compelling choice, but he
Yeah.
was very much I felt like he was very much like a template. Like
Right.
we were supposed to kind of feel for, like, you know what I mean? Like the classic sort of Luke Skywalker, who Luke Skywalker doesn't have the best personality. Han has the personality, but we're supposed to put ourselves as an audience member kind of in his shoes. I thought Keri Russell did a great job. There's a couple little moments where she teared up, and the little scene between her and the son was great.
Yeah.
But still very subtle, very muted. All of the human actor's performance was all pretty muted, except for Gary Oldman when he burst out a couple times. But even then, when they were telling him we saw apes that spoke, he was like, okay, calm down. Like there's a lot of muted
Yeah.
stuff, as opposed to the ape actors that had to be so expressive.
Right.
They just kind of got overwhelmed by the ape actors. I feel like
I just can't believe how real those
there,
apes
there,
look.
I'm with Eric.
There definitely
were
are moments.
There are
where-
moments where you're like, that's CG.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's
totally.
just because
a lot
we
of
know
the action stuff.
we
Yeah.
know what we're watching. We know how these movies are made. We know the
Exactly.
behind the scenes. So, do I believe that they are apes 100% the whole time? No. But as I'm watching the movie, do I forget, like, that it's a human actor in a suit? Sometimes, yeah, it becomes
Yeah,
a
yeah.
character.
Right.
It became a character to me, and so I became invested in the characters. Like
yeah,
I know
absolutely,
Koba's a human somehow in there, but it's
Yeah.
like, oh man, Koba just picked up a gun and shot at Caesar. Like, we should probably already said this at the beginning.
Which even that part, I wasn't really sold on that part where
Yeah.
he saw, like, he's the only guy who sees Koba with a gun shoot him.
Exactly. That was on my list of things.
Yeah.
Oh, that was like convenient for convenience sake.
Nobody else saw Koba down there. And
Yeah.
all of a sudden he's able to drop the gun and put the hat there
Yeah.
in enough time and move out of the way.
And they
all
know
these
they know
things.
what humans were there.
Exactly.
I know, but check this out too. This is the ape home we're talking about. That cool little tree forest village.
Yeah.
This is a guy, Koba, who was making moves. He had this
Yeah.
shit planned to the T. He had plans. He plans that
Wasn't
he
the son also involved in the plan, or
right,
no?
but here's what I'm saying. Koba planned to involve the son, where
Yeah.
he was saying all this great
But
manipulative
didn't
stuff,
the
where
son
he's
see
like,
him
No.
light the ape homes on fire, or no?
No.
maybe
Well, I
actually,
thought it was
maybe.
a good
But what he
question,
didn't
actually.
see, what I know Koba did on purpose, was Koba made sure that nobody saw him shoot Caesar. Otherwise, his plan would have gone to crap. So Koba, like again, he knows that little village. He knew what would be the ledge that Caesar would be on. He knew what little branch he could be under where other apes maybe couldn't see him.
Yeah.
He waited for his moment. I think all this stuff was planned. And sure, we didn't have a scene where he's like, like writing stuff down, like because
Yeah.
it's this really like interesting civilization, and
Right.
it's the way that they communicate. It's ape stuff, But I feel like all that stuff was I bought it. I bought it, and I feel like it wasn't a convenience thing. It was something that it was super deliberate.
Okay.
It felt like the Joker in The Dark Knight, where he had these plans, and even though the Joker had a little piece of paper at one point, it was like the Joker was doing stuff like he lied when he said where Maggie Gyllenhaal's character was, and then Harvey Dent.
Right.
He
Gotcha.
lied, and
Yeah.
these types of little things that I think are all planned. Joker planned to get caught, like every supervillain in the past couple movies plans to get caught. But I feel like this was all sort of part of Koba's plan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other things on your list?
Yeah, there's one other thing.
We're almost
What
out
is
of
it?
time, but
Are we?
almost.
No, go
Yeah.
for it.
About like 5-6 minutes.
We got
Okay.
it. What's up?
The explosion at the end that was supposed to bring down that whole tower that did.
Oh,
It didn't even do.
nothing.
Yeah, it didn't even do. Like
Did
it just
nothing.
kind of
Which
knocked
just tells you
stuff
how
over.
poor their human planning is.
Yes, but I was just like, oh, this,
Yeah.
and then, cool, it knocked down a crane.
Yeah, and one
That's all
ape
it did.
died.
Yeah.
And he was killed by Caesar.
Yeah. And, yeah, that whole thing, that just. I don't
And
know.
realistically, if Jason Clarke was at the bottom of that thing and that thing would have all collapsed, he'd be dead.
Yeah.
There's no way he would have survived that.
Yeah, he like ducked out of the thing.
Yeah, he's like underneath
Yeah.
the
I
railway.
think Gary
Like,
Oldman died. Some other people, right? Because
Well, they
yeah,
died
he
from the
was
explosion,
Right in
yeah.
that explosion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Him get covered up.
All right. So, what is your final thoughts? You said that you didn't enjoy it. Things bothered you about the
Yeah.
movie. Would you say that it was a personal thing? Could you recommend this movie, or would you say like it wasn't a well put together movie? Don't go see it. What is your sort of final thoughts on it?
I
And how many stars would you give it out of 5?
out of 5 stars.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'd say it was entertaining. It was an interesting story. There were just so many things that bothered me because I'm the kind of person that really pays close attention to that
Sure,
stuff.
to the detail stuff. Yeah.
And I'll let a few things go normally if it's like here or there, but if it's big enough and there's enough of them, it just completely takes me out of the movie. So by the end, I was bored with it because there were so many things that just kept annoying me.
Sure.
And they just added up to me not really liking it all that much. So out of 5, I might give it like a 2.
That's fair. That's a didn't like.
Maybe a 2.5. I don't know because it was decent. It was entertaining.
Sure.
There was some cool stuff. The visuals were awesome. The acting on the apes were fantastic.
Right.
But overall, it just kind of annoyed me, and I felt like all of the middle didn't matter, and the beginning and the end were the only things that kind of mattered.
All right, super hard disagree with you all the way. I'll give it 4 out of 5 stars. I really liked it, and that is the Netflix rating system, by the way. What you gave it 2, that's didn't like it. If you would have given it 1 star, that would have been hated it.
Okay.
And you agree, you probably didn't hate it. You just didn't like it, so that's right.
Yeah.
3 stars is liked it. 4 stars is really liked it. 5 stars is loved it. So I'll give it 4.
Okay.
And I'll give Rise of the Planet of the Apes like a 3.5, 3, like somewhere between 3 and 4. I felt like this one improved on what the first movie did. I felt like, yeah, man, because I just so bought into the characters and I got swept up in the emotion of it. And even all the nitpicky stuff, all the details and stuff, I feel like there's kind of explanations for it here and there, but in the end, it was all about the characters, which is super interesting.
Yeah.
And I just think it was super ballsy that the movie's about gun control and that the characters that we are supposed to care about were the apes. Both of those ballsy moves.
Yeah.
So I give it 4 stars. Adam.
Okay.
Now that probably gonna have to go. Might have to go. Man, that's kind of a tough one because
You said at the
Habs on
top of the
Netflix.
show, you said you loved it. You said you loved this movie.
I did love it, but now that we're talking about it, I'm like, oh, there were a few things bother me, but I'm gonna have to go with a 4 also.
A 4? All right.
I think I really appreciate the movie for its performances. I think the CG was really well done.
Yeah.
There are story points that definitely did bother me, but I think the general feelings over the movie and how it was put together, I can let some of those things slide.
Okay.
I also got to mention the score by Michael Giacchino, who's like my favorite movie composer. I love the score. It was super great. It was real emotional when it had to be, and whenever like apes were doing stuff like climbing up on the Golden Gate Bridge, it was very like 60s and like you know what I mean, like adventure-y.
That I didn't really like. That
I loved it.
60s.
It was great.
Because
I know that
too 60s,
I know that it was.
Like it, though.
I know that it's whatever. It kind of made it fun.
Yeah,
and maybe you're not supposed to be feeling like
different.
it's fun in the part of a movie where the apes are going to go spy on humans because you're supposed to be kind of tense and stuff. But I dug it. I thought it was like almost creepy. Almost, again, it felt like the '60s Apes movie, where when you watch that movie and you hear some of those musical notes, it's when apes are rounding up humans, and you're like, it's like terrifying.
Yeah.
So I felt like that kind of vibes. It's very sci-fi.
I mean, it's definitely a movie I'd recommend to people.
Okay,
especially if you've seen the first one.
Absolutely.
Go watch this one. If you don't like it, I mean, yeah.
And I would say too, you guys saw the first one in 2011 in theaters.
Yeah.
I rewatched it recently, and it enhanced going to see the new one. So I feel like another thing I would recommend is to watch the first one, have it fresh in your mind. Watch it if you haven't seen it in a while, rewatch it, and then go see the new one. And it's good to kind of, I think it's good to have both of these movies kind of feel like one big movie. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's a good first movie and a sequel put together. It's good. They feel similar, and there's whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Hector, where can people find you online?
You guys can follow me on Twitter at Hector is Funny, and I'm on Facebook at facebook.com/HecTerminator, and I hate both of those names.
Honorable guest. Where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at thanks for the view with a number 4 in the middle. I never tweet
Nice.
things, but it's awesome.
Tweeting's fun.
Follow him.
Totally.
I'll follow you, buddy.
Tweet all sorts of things.
Thank you so much for being on the show, Adam. Where can we find you
thanks, man.
online?
I'm on all social media as Adam Hlavik. And most important thing, we want to know what you guys thought of Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Yes,
so give us some
absolutely.
comments, give us some feedback. Let us know what you thought. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel, share our videos, and favorite them.
Definitely.
That's
And
awesome.
we'll be back the beginning of August. We're going to do Guardians of the Galaxy
Absolutely.
and Ninja Turtles.
Oh,
So hopefully Eric will be back for those.
Raccoons and trees.
And turtles.
with Johnny Knoxville's voice. It's going to be great.
Thanks,
All right,
guys.
cool. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.